Welcome to Isabel Wren's tutorials for make benefit, glorious cam models, and other human peoples. To see me in a live cam show for more tutorials or to make the sexy times, go to my website, rensamerica.com. Alright, tutorial number 3, working in Adobe Photoshop CS4 to change shadows and light and color in an image. As you can see, this image is a little bit dark, so we're just going to bring it up and make sure the colors stay alright. So the first thing we want to do is we want to duplicate the layer, make another layer to make all our changes in. Sometimes I do this and sometimes I don't. Bad web designer, bad web designer. You really should do it though, because if you've made a whole bunch of changes and you decide you don't like the way it looks or you don't want it, you can just delete the layer on and your image is underneath still okay, as opposed to having to go open up an entirely new one and blah blah blah. So Photoshop is a lot like math class. Do you guys remember Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally, the order of operations? Stuff in Photoshop is the exact same way. You get very different results if you do things one way versus another way. So I'm going to create another layer with the same image, and we can do it 2 different ways, and you can see how differently it turns out. First way I'm going to do it, go into Adjustment, Brightness and Contrast, and I'm just going to snag the little brightness guy. You don't want to over brighten it because you see stuff starts to blow out. So we'll brighten it just a little bit. I'm an under brightener myself. Excuse me, we could make a joke about me not being very bright, I don't know. And we're going to go to Exposure. I'm going to pull the exposure up a little bit. It's starting to blow out. Not quite sure. And we did that exposure with the highlights. Now, I love this guy. Adjustments. Curves. Curves is really fun because you can do the curves yourself, or you can have it auto do the curves, and we'll do it both ways. So to do it yourself, set your black point and find one of the darker spots on your image. Let's say my hair there is pretty dark. So it brings in all the darks. And set the medium point, which is a medium gray. Bring in all the mediums, and then we're going to set the light point, which is probably my ass. And now we see how it changed that image. So we cancel. Remember how that looks? Go back. Auto. And you see it did it a little bit better, a little bit differently. Yeah, I think it looks better than my own friggity way of doing it. So okay. Now, we'll ignore that guy and go over to this guy. Remember, even if you click the off on the eye, you need to go switch physically to that layer, because otherwise you'll be making changes on the layer that you can't see. You'll be going, why isn't this working? This is awful. So now we're going to do the order of operations a little bit differently. We're going to go straight to curves. Set the dark point, hair, set the midpoint, roof, set the light point. It's not quite that anymore, but still. But that looks a little bit different than the way we did it before, doesn't it? I'm going to cancel out of there. Adjustments, curves, auto. Now you see the way it did it automatically this time is much greener than the way it did it before when we lightened, before we did the curves adjustment. So now let's take a look and see how that differs. Different order of operations yields different results, just like math class. We're looking right now at the one that we didn't lighten first with the auto curve, and the one that we did lighten first with the auto curve. See, it makes a subtly different result. Unlike math class, one is not the right versus the wrong answer, so you can do it any way you want.